Greetings everyone, House here. Today, I have something different for you. Today we're going to take a break from Texas Chainsaw Massacre Game or any Dead by Daylight coverage, and we're going to talk about a hypothetical upcoming game that I think we could see in the future. Today I want to discuss the possibility of an asymmetrical horror Scream game. The aforementioned games are out right now. Friday the 13th is in the past, and Killer Klowns from Outer Space is somewhere in the near future. And I think that we could see a Scream game more now than ever before. Please note that this has nothing to do with the Scream game currently being developed by Supermassive Games, allegedly. That will probably be more story-focused, like Until Dawn and the Quarry. I just wanted to take some time today to discuss how, and if, a Scream asymmetrical horror game could work. To understand my vision of what the Asym Scream game could look like, we have to understand a little bit about how the licensing for Scream works. Currently, the license for Scream, the franchise and characters, and then the license for Ghostface are held by separate people. This is the reason that we had the Ghostface chapter in Dead by Daylight. While Behavior was able to bring the masked killer to the game, it could not be Billy Loomis or any of the previous killers featured in the film. This is because the rights to those specific characters are held by a different party than those that hold the rights to the Ghostface costume itself. Thus, Behavior decided to make their own version of the Ghostface killer. Understanding that, it's entirely possible that the Scream game does not include any of the previous characters. This means we may not see Sidney Prescott, Gale Weathers, Deputy Dewey. We may not even see representations of Sam or Tara Carpenter. If there was a Scream Asym game, I would expect it included characters that were developed specifically for that game. Obviously, the power of having all these memorable names would be great to have with the game, but then you have to clear specific licenses with specific films and those that hold them, and you also have to clear likenesses with the actors that played them. It would take a lot of time and coordination. While it is possible, I don't find it likely for a Scream Asym game. What I find far more likely is that they will have specific characters designed for the game itself. Regarding the characters themselves, I would see the Scream Asym game as a 5 to 7 player game. If it was a lobby of 5 characters, there would be 4 people trying to survive and possibly escape the map, while one person is Ghostface. The twist on the gameplay to give this game its own identity in the horror gaming sphere is that the Ghostface killer would not be revealed at the beginning of the game. Yes, this is similar to Among Us, but I think that it fits the themes of the film and could provide some exciting gameplay. I imagine a map, like in a high school, where you have to collect evidence about the Ghostface killer, possibly discerning their identity, while the killer slowly tries to isolate other characters and pick them off one by one. Eventually, you could gather enough pieces of evidence to discern who the killer is, at that point contacting the authorities and engaging the endgame of the gameplay itself. I think the balance of 4 survivor characters versus 1 killer works very well. Obviously, it's kind of a standard at this point, popularized mostly by Dead by Daylight. But I also feel it is possible to see up to 7 players in this game because the films are notorious for having 2, sometimes even 3 Ghostface killers. I think it would be really interesting to see a team of 5 survivors going against 2 Ghostfaces. The key would be balancing the number of objectives that need to be completed on a map for the survivors to win or reach that win condition. Similar to Among Us, the Ghostface killers would have the ability to search around the map and make it look like they are completing objectives as well. But when out of line of sight of the other characters, it would be possible for them to slip into the iconic Ghostface outfit and attempt to stalk the survivors. I think this could enhance the gameplay by adding a layer of paranoia, as you would not know which of the other survivors you could trust and would be constantly having to watch over your shoulder as you try to complete objectives. The idea of having characters secretly be the killer has been something that has been interesting to the asymmetrical horror community ever since the trailer dropped for Legion in Dead by Daylight. This could be a way for a game to fill that want and need from the community, while fitting very well with the source material, in my opinion. I know I mentioned that it would be difficult to get the licensing specifically for the Scream films, but I do think that the game could have some iconic locations either based off their film counterparts or inspired heavily by them. That said, if they could secure the rights to those locations, that would be great. When I first played the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, one of the first things that struck me is how much love went into the recreation of the family house. It felt surreal. It felt like going back to some place that I'd been a long time ago, even though I personally was not around in the 70s or on the set location of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. It felt like going home in a lot of ways. I feel like this game has the opportunity to do the same with iconic locations from the Scream franchise. Imagine going to Woodsboro High School, the house from the end of the first film. Hell, even the movie theater converted into a ghost face worship shrine from one of the recent films. Those would be amazing locations to play in. If they can't get the rights specifically to those locations, they could do locations that were similar, heavily inspired, but not the exact location. It would lose a little bit of the appeal, but it would still be a cool, inspired location. The map design could also lend itself to more creative environmental kills depending on how deep they want to go with the system. I'm not saying we have to kill someone by closing their neck in a garage door, but hey, it's a possibility. It could be cool. The also borderline slapstick nature of Ghostface chases could work well with gameplay as well. I think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game where you could slam doors in the family's face and think that would work perfectly for Ghostface. There's a lot of variety that can be added to the gameplay by inspired locations. The gameplay loop of finding clues to discern who is Ghostface, potentially open lines of communication with the authorities and then survive until they arrive, can be varied slightly depending on the map. Maybe it makes more sense to trap Ghostface and escape with your life. Hell, it's entirely possible that the survivors eventually gain the upper hand and gain the ability to take Ghostface out. It's not like the Ghostface killer has not been killed in the movies before. However, I would expect, given the series it's based upon, that even if you shoot Ghostface and take him down, he may not be finished. There are so many tropes to play with, not only in the films, but also broader horror films in general, that I think that this is a great opportunity to bring in a lot of variety with the gameplay. As someone who has enjoyed this franchise ever since I saw it, even though I was a little young to be completely honest, I would love to play a Scream-based video game. Asym horror just seems like it is a perfect fit for the franchise. But what do you guys think? Would you play a Scream Asym horror game? Do you have any ideas for how else the game could build its identity? And what other franchise do you feel like would make a great Asym horror game? I have a few others that I would like to see, and I may talk about in the future, but I would want to hear your ideas in the comments below. I'm really looking forward to Supermassive Scream game if/when that comes out, but in the meantime, I'll just dream about this fantasy game I have in my head. I want to thank you guys so much for taking time to hang out with me today. If you did enjoy, feel free to join the discussion below. While you're down there, feel free to like and subscribe if you have not already. It just takes a second of your time and it really helps out. I would really appreciate it. But with that said, I hope you have a good rest of your day, a good night, and good luck.